In the previous video, I discussed some unflattering shots Hillary Rodham Clinton took at Senator Bernie Sanders in her upcoming documentary. In this video, I'm going to ask the question, who will the Democrats' coalition be come election time? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. The title of this video is Who Will Be the Democrats' Coalition? Please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. So in the previous video, I discussed Hillary Rodham Clinton's personal shots at Senator Bernie Sanders in her upcoming documentary on Hulu entitled Hillary. And I ended that video by speculating on who the Democrats' coalition will be. So despite what a lot of people think in terms of how presidents win these elections, well, we know it goes through the Electoral College, and after the last election there was a call to abolish the Electoral College. I might address that in a separate video. But despite how people think these things go, most presidents, most of the winners win through the formation of a coalition. So let's define that right now. That's going to be the key vocabulary word in this video. So once again, we're gonna look in Webster, and the definition of a coalition is, where is it? Coalition, the act of coalescing. A body formed by the coalescing of distinct elements. A temporary alliance of distinct parties, persons, or states for joint action. So in other words, most presidential candidates have to put together groups of individuals, sometimes groups that either like each other or sometimes groups that don't like each other but are willing to join forces for a common cause. So that's a coalition. They're seldom won by one race or one group or one class. Barack Obama had his coalition. George W. Bush before him had his coalition. Bill Clinton had his coalition. Every president has a coalition. And regardless of what people think, President Donald J. Trump had his coalition. And it wasn't all white people. It wasn't all coal miners. It wasn't all white supremacists. President Trump's coalition included some minorities, some of which had broken from the Democratic Party and said, we're fed up with this stuff and we're going to do something different. So let's talk about my community now. And I may revisit the statistics, the voting statistics from the 2016 election in a separate video. I think that would be a lot of fun for people to kind of see the numbers and to talk about the numbers and to look at those numbers and speculate on what they mean. But for now, the data showed that, and I did look that data up a year or so ago so I could see for myself how things actually played out. And what I do remember is that the data showed that black women, so the women from my culture and my community, they unconditionally voted for Hillary. So we're talking pretty much in every age bracket for black women. They voted for Hillary 90% or greater in terms of numbers. For black men below the age of 50, you saw black men below the age of 50 breaking from the Democratic Party and voting for Trump, whereas the 50, I believe it was the 50 and over group, or the baby boomers from the civil rights generation, they unconditionally voted for the Democrats. And so this is essentially where Kamala Harris was coming from about a month or so ago, when she stated that black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. You know, when I first heard it, it was a pretty gutsy statement, a pretty gaudy statement. But when you think about it, it's in terms of their numbers, in terms of the percentage by which they vote for the Democratic Party. Yeah, I guess you could make the argument that they're the backbone for it. Once again, I always like to say this: I'm an independent, so I'm not allied to any party. At this point in my life, I will vote the issues and I'll vote my interests. And whether it's the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, I will vote my interests. I don't really care about likability. And I did record a video, I think it was either late last year or early this year, spelling out what things matter to me as a voter. So President Trump got a significant percentage of the Latino vote, which I think surprised a lot of people based upon his words about the southern border and Mexico. But we know that Latino people come from multiple countries. Some come from the Caribbean, some come from South America, some come from Central America. So that's an umbrella term that encompasses a lot of cultures and classes. And I think something that infuriated a lot of women, particularly from the feminist crowd, and in some instances black women, 50% of white women voted for President Trump. So for those 50% of white women who voted for Trump in that election, for whatever reason they voted for him, that reason was more important than abortion or feminism or any of the pro-woman, women are equal to men ideologies that are permeating society today. So, in summary, President Trump had a coalition, and every president who gets elected pretty much has one. It's not one single race or class or group who puts them in office under our current system. So, regardless of why Kamala Harris's candidacy crashed and burned, many women from my community and my culture, black women, are furious and bitter that Kamala had to drop out, because they saw her as that was their sister, that was their girl. She was going to be Obama 2.0, and the argument could be made that for the people who were fed up with Obama, that's one of the reasons why she didn't get their support. So that was a really big deal in the black community in terms of Kamala's legal record out in California, and that was a big deal in the black community. in terms of her candidacy and whether or not she'd get the black vote. And the community was very, very split on that. Someone like Simone Sanders, for example, had some choice words about black men for not standing by Kamala, and I think Zerlina Maxwell had some choice words for us as well, or for any black man who didn't support Kamala. So that was pretty divisive. That was a divisive thing in our community. There was the other day I was watching a very, very lovely woman on Twitter who calls herself Black Women Views, and I believe this young woman is a feminist, a black feminist, and she was going hard in the paint and really trolling the Bernie folks, the Bernie bros and the Bernie broettes, as she calls them, in the aftermath of this Hillary business. And you could hear in her voice that she was very angry and very aggrieved based upon what happened to Kamala in the primary. And I'm saying all this to say that there are people on the Democratic side, particularly black women, who are still a little annoyed and angry that Kamala had to drop out. There are people in the black community who are looking for reparations and tangibles. That's something else that Kamala and Cory Booker and even Bernie and all the candidates kind of had to answer questions on. Oftentimes it didn't go well because I don't think any of them support reparations, or they don't feel like they can openly support them, but it's something they've all had to answer for in the post Barack Obama presidency era. So that's a big thing, and that's a major reason why the Democratic voter base is kind of fractured right now, at least within the black community. Recently there was some fallout between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, which actually took place on the debate stage afterwards. That got kind of messy. So, there are a lot of things going on now on the left in the Democratic Party. And with so many of Democratic voters wanting another minority or wanting a female candidate, how are these people going to respond when it ends up being another older white male like Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders? And I don't have any problems with older white males, but that voter base, that hardcore Democratic voting base, some of them still want a woman and some of them still want a minority. So if and when someone like Joe Biden gets the nomination, I don't know, what's he going to do? How's he going to get those voters to come and vote for him? And whoever it is, if it's Bernie, if it's Joe, if it's someone else, how are they going to pull together that coalition to get the numbers they need to defeat President Trump, assuming President Trump survives this whole impeachment odyssey? And that's the question I wanted to ask in this video. How, with all this going on, with the aftermath of the 2016 election, with Kamala having to drop out, with no more minority candidates, with a fractured black vote, how is the Democratic candidate going to build his or her coalition to win the general election? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to leave any video content that's related to this. I've done some videos on politics and political issues and the election. I've done some videos on the election thus far, and I'm going to leave those in the description box below in case you want to take a look. In any case, thank you for watching, and always remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.